welcome to Food for Thought episode 14, Why You're Emotionally Addicted and How to Create Emotional Freedom with Gabriel Rivera. So the reason I started this show is to inspire, empower and connect people, connect them with their self, each other and life, to draw awareness of the benefits of transformation and the countless possibilities and opportunities that appear for us when we start our transformation journey, to help people see the signs so they know they're not alone and have the confidence to act from their best self. For all the viewers and listeners to feel inspired to make lasting positive change in their lives and their businesses if they wish. The show's not about me, it's about all the people I've met on my journey who are out there guiding and supporting others, and it's about you, the viewer or the listener, if you're listening to the podcast. Each one of the people I interview on the show is an inspiration to me because of their talent, uniqueness, heart-centeredness, and devotion to others. If you like, you can connect with these people and they can assist you in transforming your life. They all inspire me. I hope they inspire you too. I'm your host, Matt Love. I'm a transformational specialist who empowers conscious and ethical entrepreneurs with the mindset and skills needed to be understood, visible, and found on the internet. I specialize in establishing and growing an internet presence using various forms of digital marketing. You can connect with me at mattlove.business, and that's Matt with 2 T's, here on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Gabriel Rivera. We're here to talk about emotional addiction, emotional freedom, and EFT, emotional freedom technique. Gabe, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Matt, for having me here. I really enjoy collaborating with you and even having our own little sidebars, which have been pretty cool. Ex-New Yorker, ex-American expat, moved out to South America about 5 years ago. To find my new life, my new purpose, I guess. And it never went the way I thought it would. So I ended up becoming a online ESL English teacher because sometime prior to that, about 2014, I planned ahead and it just worked out. Like, wow, in an emergency, I had the tools necessary to teach online, the certifications. And in my journey towards that, my transition from America to South America, hell broke loose in such a bad way that I had to relearn how to survive in a different land. And, I'm ex-military. I thought I could survive. Man, was I wrong? So, I learned EFT, but prior to learning EFT, I had to learn other things that were more important, like emotional intelligence, which is what got me started. And after I learned emotional intelligence, I was a little more intrigued about my dysfunctions, my behaviors. I was becoming more conscious and aware of me, that I started to learn REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. And I got certified in that. I took a 6-week course. I thought it was awesome just to help myself out, mentally understand thoughts and emotions and what comes in between, the consequences. It's such a deep subject. And that led me to neuro-linguistic programming, which is even deeper. Love the subject, everything about neurosciences, your subconscious mind, and understanding what sleight of mouth is. And this is something that is so important. Sleight of mouth is how we speak, our speaking patterns. And a lot of people are not aware of that. And that led me to EFT, TFT, and EFT, thought field therapy and emotional freedom techniques, which led me to EFT energy. And then the spiritual side of that, which is optimal EFT, or matrix re-imprinting, theta healing, everything else that just connects people to a higher power for self-healing. It's an extraordinary subject. And like I was telling Matt before we went live, this is a great conversation to have because there's so many upsides to it. It doesn't have to be traumatic all the time. It doesn't have to be down spiraling emotions all the time. It's all about those possibilities that exist to help people just push forward in an amazing way where we really doubt that there is amazement beyond our fears. So that's me, Gabe.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love it. I didn't know you were in the army. I don't know if you mentioned that before. I remember you told me about the journey. So that's really interesting. Yeah, it was amazing how there's different types of toughness. There's different types of resilience, I suppose, is the word, and resistance. And what you need for one thing isn't what you need for life. So what you need for the army isn't what you need for day-to-day life. I'm moving country. I live in a different country as well. I live in Portugal, and I'm from the UK. And you cannot be prepared for it until you do it, as they say.
Yeah.
So we came here today to talk about emotions, emotional freedom, and emotional addiction, which is an interesting topic. So just briefly, how do our emotions affect us overall, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I do know. I'm passionate about this subject because, again, two of the most powerful faculties, let me say, that human beings have are thoughts and emotions. And these two faculties, when they're working in tandem together, they will either create an amazing story in your life, or it will create a devastating story in your life, you know. And understanding how the body becomes the mind after the thought process is even more fascinating, because a feeling is derived from the thought chemically. The science behind it is extraordinary. You know, we have a thought, and whatever the idea is, let's say the idea is, I want to be a Hollywood movie star. You know, that's a thought, and that thought is already being broadcasted out to the universe, you know, on a frequency. And that frequency is the emotion, because biochemically, the mind signals the body biochemically creates that feeling of excitement, let's say, to be a movie star in Hollywood. And now you have what's called a vibrational match. So it is created based on thought and feeling alone. And once we have that and sustain a thought and a feeling, we are literally manifesting. So that's what's so interesting about the word manifesting. People think that it's difficult, but we've been manifesting all our lives just in the opposite direction, because we've learned more negativity than positivity. So as we're learning now to manifest the good life, we get all this resistance because of what we've learned prior to that emotionally. And what we've learned is that we have conditioned our bodies to be negative as well. And we don't realize this, because these, again, are all subconscious programs that occur throughout our journey in life. Everything from, you know, third trimester in life all the way to whatever age you are now currently. I'm 57, so believe me, I've had a lot of recreating in my life where I did not know, I was totally unaware that I was being the creator of my life. And I always came across this hurdle in my life thinking, wow, again, I got to struggle to get past this, and I'm creating this junk in my life. And why is this happening to me? Because we learn to use self-defeating language as well, with a thought and an emotion tandem that's keeping us down in life or destroying, devastating our life.
Yeah, and I think so that's kind of why it's because it initially starts with the thought. When people have different thoughts or unhelpful thoughts, that's why people deal with things differently. So some people will be positive and some people will be negative. Like your example was the excitement of being on stage, you know, and being in Hollywood, wasn't it? Whereas another person might be like, oh, getting on stage. Yeah. So they're going to trigger a different emotional response.
And they will. And that response, okay, is most probably based on a previous event in their life, either a small T or a big T trauma that has caused this stage fright. And it carries on to life. You know, I'll be fearful of speaking in front of anybody, either groups, you know, smaller groups, individuals. We might become shy and very introverted because of it, not realizing that because we had an event in our past that has shifted our state of being.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. So my example was, until 2020, I kind of never wanted to get on stage. Whenever I got on stage at school and stuff, I was incredibly nervous, but it always went really well. But I never kind of patted myself on the back or celebrated the win. And after a lot of reflection, I put it down to the only thing that came up was 7 years old at my uncle's wedding, trying to get on stage and dance and win the Birdie song. I don't know if you know that song, with a little bit of this. So. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to demonstrate right now, but anyway, I can specifically remember being laughed at a lot, and I put all my heart into it. And maybe I'm not clear yet, that was the trauma that's caused me to not want to get on stage, not wanting to perform. But we can change these things.
Plausible.
We can change these things if we try, right?
No, and most definitely we can change these things simply because it is another example in our life, our timeline of life, where there are many changes that we go through, subtle changes, impactful ones that happen, and they just imprint that, event for life. People suffer from a lot of things that we've experienced, small or big. So we can't change that. But see, that change comes with a commitment of self-betterment, right? Everybody wants to do personal development, and especially since the last 3 years, COVID hit, and people found themselves really now struggling to understand, what do I got to do to survive COVID? And that impactful, energetic, feeling that happened to people has created more millionaires, like say in the last 3 years. It has forced people to think more creatively, to be more innovative, to want to reach for higher things instead of just succumbing to a pandemic. And that's during a pandemic. So, the great point is that we don't have to wait for a tragedy to strike our lives for us to want to say, I'm going to change things around. The commitment to change should not be daunting. It should be allowed. You should be happy to want to make that change if we're in that conscious state of, I need to change. I want to change. My life has to change. So when one makes that commitment, the amplitude of that commitment has to be greater than the feeling that your body harbors of resistance. And that resistance could be anger, resentment, jealousy, fear, self-sabotaging thoughts, grief, anything that's a down-regulated emotion.
Yeah. And then, from my personal experience with this is those emotions increase when we don't commit to the development of ourselves. So it's almost like our body is calling for us to do that, to show up for ourselves. And so that's from my own experience that, that sometimes, you should, especially when you should, you can, and you still resist it, like you were saying. And so, we mentioned about emotional addiction. This is kind of what is it that holds people back? It's this emotional addiction. And what is emotional addiction? How does that work?
So emotional addiction is a chemical addiction. It's a natural body chemical addiction created by the body based on thought alone. So it's no different than being addicted to a synthetic chemicals. We take aspirin. We've learned to take medication for all sorts of other things with the belief that we're going to get better. Well, we are the placebo as well. The greatest pharmacy on the planet is your own human body, when we learn how to, condition our bodies, to be addicted to the better emotions. So emotional addiction, we practice this all our lives. Everybody has, everything from crying to whatever other down-regulated emotion exists. And I'll give you an example. One of the biggest down-regulated emotions that exists is the ego. And under the ego umbrella, we get addicted to the emotions of dishonesty, sadness, selfish, confusion, hatred, procrastination, arrogance, loneliness, inferiority, violence. These are emotions that we practice over time, and the body becomes addicted to that. So people have heard statements like, oh, that angry guy, or yeah, she's always sad, not being aware, or at least empathizing with the fact that it's not them that choose to be this way. They learn to be this way. So the body becomes addicted to this emotion. And when you try to be happy, it resists. Now you're trying to elevate or raise that vibration, that emotion, to a higher frequency. And because it's not used to that, the body will resist. And this is where the addiction side effects come out, where people, you see the jittery, and they're fighting it, and they're just fighting this addiction of becoming happier. And this is why the decision the commitment to want to change from, let's say, angry to a happy person, that decision has to carry an energetic amplitude greater than that of the anger, of the resentment, of the fear, in order for it to smash through. Because it takes twice the amount of energy to separate two atoms than it does to fuse them together. So it's an easy decision, but one that requires your excitement to want to do it. How could anybody not be excited about wanting to change to the better? But we don't, because the body's addicted. We become scared. We feel vulnerable, like, wow, how the hell do I do that now? Yeah. And it feels safe now, so we regress. We stay in that comfort zone, and we try again. We'll poke our head later on, and we'll make little steps. And it's okay to do that. As long as the commitment is there to do that, we will change. The body literally will start to recondition to a new mind, a new emotion.
So it's, in some respects, it's kind of like a comfort zone at the time, because the body feels comfortable. It's a need. It's a bit like when we're on drugs and we get a withdrawal from, not taking those drugs, even whether it's nicotine or something serious, more serious than that. The body feels uneasy, so to speak, and we have to
completely,
be aware of it. Obviously, having awareness of that is really beneficial. That this is going to take time for you to introduce this new state. Would that be right? And get comfortable with being happy, and you're going to have to practice happiness and things like that.
Exactly. It's all about the mental rehearsal. Again, in an unconscious state, we practice, or we mentally rehearse all these down-regulated emotions. It's just part of the norm. And again, it's nobody's fault. We just learn to be this way. But we can unlearn that and go through the uncomfortable process of reconditioning our bodies and our minds to thrive, because it's always going to be neurochemical and biochemically, at the foundation, at the root. And once we start doing that, it becomes easier. It becomes actually exciting when you start to see the actual changes and experiences coming back towards you in a positive manner, instead of one that you feel, wow, fight, or fly again. I'm tired of being stressed out. You don't have to be stressed out anymore.
Yeah, so it's almost like the thing I've been learning about, where the survival mode, or the ego, is like, hey, this is new, come back, yes. Don't do it. Yeah. And so is there ways of identifying this emotional addiction, or how can we maybe see? Yes. I mean, so
there's many ways, actually. Two of my favorites. Okay, one is based on the body code, the emotion code, and it's called the sway test. And this is where a person literally just stands with their feet parallel to their shoulders, hands relaxed, shoulders just relaxed, standing up, and you ask yourself in a normal tone of voice the question to verify if it's true or false. So the first question you're going to ask is my name Gabriel? Or in your case, Matt. And as you're standing there, your body will naturally lean forward as a yes. And then if you ask yourself, just to test, is my name Charlie? When it's not, your body will naturally lean back and let you know that it's false. So once you do that test to verify that you are in tune with your mind, your body, your subconscious mind, then you ask yourself that question. Do I have a trapped emotion in my body that I want to release? And if your body leans forward, which it probably will, that means that there is a trapped emotion there that wants to be addressed, that wants to be released, that wants to flow, because it's not doing you any good, by harboring, by festering down-regulated emotions, because they manifest physical problems, physical symptoms, like headaches or spasms, muscle spasms, or tightness in the chest, blurry vision, teeth clenching, whatever the case may be, cramps. So you want to be able to address it so you can release it from there. And that's one way to test. Another one is with EFT. I love it because, it's a statement, you have a conversation with yourself as you're tapping your meridian points. So the first meridian point is this one. It's what's called the karate chop point, and right in the fleshy part of the hand, right in the middle. is a meridian point. And you would tap on this as you're asking yourself or making an NLP statement, even though I kind of suspect I feel angry, and I'm not sure why, because I don't think I'm an angry person. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And this is what's called a setup statement in EFT. And as a person, starts to reveal their own truth, your energy starts to flow naturally. So it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, the fact that you're flowing your energy is going to automatically start to shift how one feels and lower that stress response. Make your energy flush back into your heart so it can swell up and start to pump better, fill up with energy. Start, shedding the energetic disturbances that manifest physical issues, and in long term, disease. We manifest our own disease. We self-prophesize our own diseases.
Right. So through repetitive, specifically negativity or negative emotions?
Yes, because 90% of what we practice is negative emotions. And that's science fact. There's a lot of overwhelming evidence about that. And I think it's great because we are in an era of awareness now, regardless of anybody who says, I wasn't aware. The 21st century jump-started people's minds in a more positive way of awareness, self-awareness. And we have to practice these things in order to be able to, again, get to a point where we can say, wow, I am the observer of my behaviors. And I realize that now. Therefore, I choose to want to correct the ship, redirect my energies to a better place that'll help me thrive. It's a choice based on, your current state of being.
Okay. And so you mentioned there about the tapping and the meridian points. Is that some of the best ways to start getting over your emotional addiction, so to speak? Is that
I find it to be one of the best and one of the easiest because it's non-invasive. There's no medical procedures. There's no needles. There's no pushing and pulling. You're literally using your own two fingers, which I like to call faith and belief, to tap or stimulate the meridian points in the body. And EFT has a specific sequence of tapping points. And these are the ones that I'm showing you right now. There's 11 of them. And what it does is it allows each tapping point to start the energy flow, the stimulation process. And once it starts to release, what's really happening is you're lowering that stress response. And that fear, for example, if you started at an intensity of like a -7, I'm really fearful, I'm afraid of that snake or that spider, you'll be lowering down to like about a -5, a 4 maybe, and it won't feel as intense. And this is the proof that people start to get as they're tapping. They start to realize that, wow, I'm not as afraid as I was before. And when we take it down to 0, you can literally look at a spider and be like, okay, I'm unaffected. But that doesn't create a healing event in people. We learn to subdue or suppress negative emotions. Again, in this example, fear of a snake or a spider. Getting down to 0 in the pain management scale is not enough. You want to be able to now jump over the 0 wall of nothing, and you want to be able to tap your energy flow into the positive state, where in the science side, the biochemical science side, your body will literally, the genes will literally signal every cell in your body to tell your brain that it is okay to be creative now. You are healed. The event is over. That trauma that used to scare you when you would think about it doesn't scare you anymore. It's resolved. You have evolved emotionally. And anytime it comes up, it's like, I'm completely unaffected because the healing event has occurred. We don't stop at 0 for that reason, because recurrence will happen. We want to go beyond that every time.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's some work I've done myself actually. And yeah, it's great to think back to things that used to bother me and not be bothered by them at all. Emotionally, have no response at all. So you've mentioned EFT. a few times. And for people that are watching and maybe didn't read the description or anything like that, so what is EFT and how can it benefit people?
So emotional freedom techniques is a modality that was created by Dr. Roger Callahan as TFT, Thomas Frank Thomas, TFT, which is thought field therapy. And Dr. Roger Callahan, he is a psychologist. He had, to make a long story short, he had a client of his, a patient that he just couldn't resolve a water phobia. And as he was doing the water phobia treatments on her next to a pool, according to the story, he couldn't resolve anything. And then he just thought, you know, I used to work with Chinese medicine, acupuncture modalities in the past. Let me try something. So he had his patient tap under the eye as they were going through the motions. And in her mind, thought field therapy, she was saying, even though I have this phobia of water, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And just like magic, Harry Potter, if you want to call it, she snapped out of this phobia. She literally was not afraid of water anymore, literally. And wow. One of his students, Gary Craig, who is the founder of EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, what he did was he simplified the TFT process, because TFT requires, not that it requires, but it has specific algorithms, tapping algorithms for specific emotional issues, complex anger, complex trauma, complex fear. EFT gives you one tapping sequence that'll resolve all of those emotions, surface emotions, with just one particular sequence over a series of tapping sessions.
Excellent. So it's kind of like acupressure almost.
It is totally, yeah.
Yeah, acupressure combined with using positive emotions, affirmations, things like that kind of thing.
Completely, yeah. Absolutely.
But in a very structured and proven method. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a mind-body tandem in the positive aspect. So it addresses, it affirms, and it accepts what is the disturbance, the emotional disturbance, and it will little by little, based on the tapping round, reduce it to nothing or release it completely, so that a person can literally experience what it's like not to feel that negative emotion anymore. Whether it's grief. Grief is a big one that happens a lot. We lose something that we love, someone that we love, and we really hang on to this grief feeling to the point where it devastates us. It makes us feel even worse than what the grief is. So I've worked with people where that grief, once you let it go and you realize like, oh my God, I didn't realize how heavy I was prior to letting go. And once that energy flows, it is emotional freedom. The only reason why people need this, and not just, I don't mean EFT, I mean any kind of modality that'll help a person with their mind and body connection in alignment, needs to be able to have their energy flow. Because again, emotions are at the root of all energetic disturbances in the body. They manifest a lot of our problems, or they'll manifest a lot of our successes. So why not struggle to be successful and enjoy that process instead of nurturing a past memory and feeling tandem that just keeps us devastated or suffering or in pain or not feeling well. We know this, but we are weak because of the emotional addiction to be able to say, I really want to let go. It's hard to say that. There's a lot of science behind it that comes with it, but more importantly, there's a lot of rapport and trust building that comes with it as well. Anybody who's ever been to a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, knows that rapport and trust building, if you don't have that, you're not going to tell your practitioner all your dark secrets, all your dirty little secrets. And like I like to tell my clients, you don't have to tell me all your dirty little secrets. I don't want to know. But the truth will set you free, not me. I'm here to help you. And I'm here to help you get there. But you have to be honest with you, at least with yourself. You don't have to be honest with me.
Yeah.
But the more honest you are with your own heart, your heart starts to literally shed away that heart wall, that protective shield that it has from receiving all that good energy. And the truth will set you free. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is. And I love it because I've had to shed a lot of my truth.
Yeah.
Some of it is some people feel a lot of shame of what they got to say. But that's because we never learned, or we haven't learned enough to be more honest and dishonest with ourselves.
Well, I think so. Like you were mentioning earlier, we've in a habit of being negative as a race, as humans. It's one of those things, and people say it's natural to grieve, and it is. You have to grieve, obviously, if you lose someone or something happens.
Sure.
Yeah, it's about not getting stuck in that state of grief and learning to release it. And so we've got a couple of comments here, actually. So Bina has said that I have been tapping on these points and do get value. For me, it helps me to keep my conscious mind focused or busy in tapping on points, so my subconscious mind kind of reveals itself.
Yeah.
And Anastasia's got a question for you. So what happens if you say the words but don't do the tapping?
Well, you're not being effective because the energy wants to flow, Anastasia. You don't want it just to let it linger or be stymied in your body. Now, usually you'll know where that energy is because that's where you feel pain. If you're feeling a headache, that's where your energy is stuck, your emotional energy. If you're feeling it in your neck, that's where it's stuck. So you have to tap on that one way or the other. You have to let the energy flow, whether it's EFT, whether it's yoga, whether it's Reiki, whether it's any other type of energy modality. You want to let that energy flow because that's what creates a healing event in your life, in your body. So if I'm feeling sad, you don't want to jump from sadness to happiness because that's a big leap, believe it or not, energetically. You want to be able to jump from sadness to, let's say, a pissed off, because that's a step above, and you release a little more energy. You want to be subtle and release the energy so that you can start to have that full impact. But yes, you have to flow. You have to. The thought, the words alone, you may be inspired by affirmations, but if your mind is thinking positive and your body is still negative, it ain't going to happen. Nothing's going to change. This is why the body has to be reconditioned to a new emotion, a new mind, because it is the subconscious mind at this point. It tells your brain, I feel like not good. I was going to say the other stuff, but I don't feel good. And your brain says, oh, I'm going to give you a memory to affirm that. And then you loop this. I feel bad. Oh, yeah, I feel bad. Oh, let me think about that bad stuff. And you keep doing this movie looping, and you never get out of it. You get worse. So you want to be able to affirm, accept it by you flowing the energy. Let it get out. Let it flow. Experience the flow.
Yeah, there's two more comments here. So we got, self-honesty is crucial, which reminds me about the what you were saying there, is that I think you said it about success and staying in pain, and it's true. It's actually a lot less effort to be successful than it is to go through a life in pain, from my experience.
Yes.
Once you create that flow and start working on that flow and start to feel other emotions, more positive emotions, and have lighter days, then it changes everything. And suddenly you learn to face what your fears, your doubts, and it's not as scary as you thought it was going to be. It's a lot easier than waking up every day in that pain that you've been in. And Anastasia, because I keep getting her name wrong, it's the trouble with talking between the States and the UK all the time. Sometimes I forget all the points and tap in a couple of places. Don't worry, I do too. Gabe gave me a guide to do in the mornings, and when it said the karate chop, I was almost getting it right, apart from I was doing a karate chop. So now I know it's actually the karate chop point. I was getting the point though, but with my hand, not my fingers. So there you go. We all get things wrong from time to time. That's awesome. So, I mean, that leads us on. So what is emotional freedom? What is emotional freedom for people who may be going to try some of these things or even try and contact you?
Emotional freedom is the difference between thriving and struggling, literally, because our thoughts and emotions are the two most powerful faculties that we have. We are energetic beings. And if we think it and feel it, we will create that. We will manifest that. So it's nobody's fault that we've learned to be 90% negative about our lives and still not be aware of it. But we are aware of it now. Anybody who's listening to this program today, and anyone who has been exposed to any kind of personal development aimed at positivity over the last 3 years, pandemic years, can understand that your time to thrive is only when you have a positive thought with a positive emotion, as if it's happening in the generous present moment. Anything other than that is going to devastate you. A past memory with a heavy feeling of the past is not going to help you. It's going to devastate the day. And then a future thought with a future feeling is going to create that anxiety and uncertainty. And again, it's going to create devastation. When we have a thought and a feeling that is present, that's current today, this is where you create the most success in life. Be concerned about your today. And so when you wake up in the mornings, and I've learned to do this, and I'm loving it more and more every day because it's a habit now. Take the first 10, 15 minutes. Do not look at your smartphone. Don't look at social media, nothing. Focus on the first thought that you want to have, which is, I want to have a great day. That's a clear intention. And feel it. I want to have a great, happy day. Now you have a great intention with a great feeling. And be grateful about that. Thank the Lord, thank God, thank the universe, thank Buddha. Whatever energetic, great feeling you want to thank, do it. And embellish in that thought. Experience it, because that's what feelings are. We experience a feeling based on the heart. So our thought will broadcast that message out to the universe with the feeling, carrying the data, and your heart, which is magnetic, draws it back as the experience that you're going to have on that day. And when we practice this on a daily basis, serendipities start to occur in our lives. We call them coincidences, we call them chance, we call them luck. No. When we maintain, high elevated emotions, we are not just healing ourselves, but we are drawing those great experiences back to us, and we are living these opportunities. They start to appear. And you start to say, wow, I got a taste of this. Is it true? Let me keep trying this, because it can't be true. I'm a big skeptic. And all of a sudden you see 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month goes by, and you keep doing this, and bigger and better things start to come at you. Because we're not focusing our energies now on a past devastation. We resolved that. Or better said, we have evolved from that, because we can't change the past. So we can change our generous present moment. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting to wake up in the morning and be able to say, this is how my day's going to go, because this is what I want it to be like. And we'll get tripped up along the way, which is okay, as long as you can get back to sustaining your elevated emotions, your ideas of success, of comfort, of love, of excitement, of gratitude, compassion for everything. It just starts to come together, and people say, as a blessing. And that's what a blessing is too. That's what a miracle is. We manifest these things into our lives based on being loving, being good, being truthful, being strong, being excited about each other. We're entangled. So let's help each other out, because nobody's ever going to teach us this. No. And nobody taught me this. I learned this in the last 3 years, and I thought it was like, wow, really? How come I didn't know this 40 years ago, let's say? Or how come they don't teach this stuff? We're not supposed to know this stuff. If people really realize how innately super powerful we are, we would practice this consciously at a daily basis and say, you know what? This is definitely much better. And I wish I would have known 40 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a really great thing to say, because it is available to people no matter what age you are, and the younger you are, the more powerful it is for you. And you said that you can't change the past. Well, I've been on this journey too, and I've had this realization, but you can change the way you perceive the past, and you can learn from the past. And often if you're stuck in the past, it's because you haven't learned from it. You haven't really let go and worked out what it is that you could probably take away from it as a positive thing,
Right.
no matter what it was, to make sure it doesn't happen again if it was something that you didn't enjoy, or to make it happen again if it was something you did enjoy. And you can stop thinking so much about the future or perceive the future as something better, because we are manifesting with the different types of thoughts that we have. So that's awesome. And so what if we don't work on our emotions then? What kind of happens if we don't learn to understand ourselves and work through those emotions? You briefly touched on this earlier.
I'll tell you a story that is a true story, verifiable. Everybody, or a lot of people, know who Christopher Reeves was.
Yes.
The first Superman, I guess. Not the first one, but the one that we came to love in Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Christopher Reeves had an accident on a horse, and he became a quadriplegic back when. So during his accident, his struggle, the one person who stuck by his side throughout the whole ordeal was his wife, Dana Reeves. Now, Christopher Reeves, okay, smart guy, he couldn't do much from the neck down. I don't think he could even, if I remember correctly, he couldn't move his neck. But he started to practice positivity, self-healing during this process, to the point where he was able to do this. That was amazing. Wow. But he died. Yeah. He died before he can fully realize that dream that he had in his own mind. I don't even think he was able to express it to his wife because he couldn't speak much. But his dream in his own mind was to recover, and he started that internal healing process, but he died. But here's the twist. Dana Reeves died 6 months after of lung cancer.
Right. Whoa.
She never smoked a cigarette in her life. Doctors said that she died of secondhand smoke. That's not true. They had to put a cause but that's not true. Let me tell you what she died of, because this has been verified. I don't remember who. I apologize for that, who verified, but this is science verified and true facts. She died of a broken heart. Now, what does that mean? We die of broken hearts a lot. It's called the rage syndrome, when somebody feels that there's a loss of love in their life. They don't have love in their life. So it creates the chemical feelings that corroborate that. Her grief, that emotion of grief, she practiced, rehearsed grief every day with a high intensity of, I miss my husband, he's dead, my life is not with him, it's over. I can only imagine how much she tortured herself. She died of a broken heart, not because of lung cancer. So this is the power of how, if our thoughts and emotions can make us sick, can they make us healthy? Can they heal us? Yes, we can. We do not have to suffer by it, especially when we know we don't have to, because we have this choice. And in saying that, I just want to express this much. Our personalities have everything to do with it. Our personal reality or personality create our personal reality. And how we think, how we act, how we feel is the life that we're actually living right now. So to create a new reality, we have to change our personalities. Nothing changes until we change that. So the same daily thoughts that lead to the same daily choices, the same daily choices lead to the same daily behaviors, the same daily behavior leads to the same daily experience. The same daily experience creates the same daily feelings and emotions. And those same daily feelings and emotions, they influence the same daily thoughts. So people's biologies, neural circuits, neurochemistry, our hormones, our gene expressions, they all stay the same, all due to reaffirming the same level of mind. And it becomes automatic in our bodies. It becomes an addiction. And we end our own lives based on thought alone, thought and feelings alone. So we can shift that. And it's not a question of how to do it anymore or how to do it, because it is available, not just with EFT. I mean, there's amazing people, energy healers, light workers out there globally, but EFT is evidence-based. It's been approved by the APA, American Psychological Association. It's been approved by the AMA, American Medical Association. It has been approved by the US Congress as a valid and effective treatment for PTSD, war veterans, or anybody in a very high stressful situation. And not only that, it is absolutely never going to hurt you because it's about your own thoughts and emotions, and nobody controls that but you with these two fingers. Faith and belief.
Faith and belief.
Faith and belief.
I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that what you said about your changing your personality changes your personal reality. And just for anybody that might be listening, there's often people think they are their personality, but personality is generally learned behavior to fit in, to accept. And it's something that if it's not working for you, you can easily change. So Bina's got a question here. It's a very interesting one, relates exactly to what we've been talking about. Can we create feelings or emotions when still we have unresolved issues which create negative feelings?
Absolutely. That's the beautiful part of being a conscious creator. We have the innate ability to tell ourselves, stop and catch that negative thought. Don't even complete the thought. And right at that very moment, make that decision to change it, shift your thought to a happier one. Shift it to a Socratic thought, a Socratic reasoning thought. For example, what if I do this differently, for example? Or what if I don't go out the door and go this way? You know, challenge your brain, because our brains are designed to answer questions anyway. So the more you ask yourself a question, a Socratic question, you're not paying attention to that disturbance, that noise. You're literally focusing your energies now on a solution, which is what you really want to do. The more you focus on that other elevated emotion, the other one just vanishes. It just goes away. It doesn't mean it's resolved or evolved. It just means that you're not giving it attention. You're not giving your energy towards that, which drains you. You're taking it away from that and giving it to another one, an elevated emotion like happiness or gratitude or excitement or, fun, love, particularly love.
Yeah, lovely. And I do that occasionally myself. If I catch myself having a thought, I'll stop it instantly and think, what's the choice? What's the thought I'd rather have right now? And it is that simple. It's like, don't get caught up in the stories that we're telling ourselves, as they say, is one of those phrases.
Correct.
So hopefully that answers your question, Bina. That's really, really good. So you mentioned as well, if we don't work on our emotions, then they can make us very sick, and to the point that we can end up with serious diseases. And if we do work on our emotions, we can heal ourselves. We can create the life of our dreams, because we, as you just mentioned, we are the conscious creator. And so what could somebody do each day to start their day more emotionally balanced? Now, you mentioned a bit about this, so what's
Absolutely. I start every client session, when we do a tapping session, with an HAB. This is what I learned from my mentor, which I think is a great thing to do. HAB stands for Heart Activation Breathing Exercise. It takes 10 minutes. It's all you got to do to have a clear intention, an elevated emotion, and the results, the positive results that you want at the start of your day. So it's a simple meditation that's lucid. You don't have to have your eyes closed. You can be eyes open, but you want to place your hands over your heart. And the moment you wake up, if you got to run to the bathroom, do so, relieve yourself, come back, go ahead and do that. But leave your phone where it is. Don't touch it. So you come back, you put your hands over your heart, and you breathe only through your nose. And you inhale, and all you're doing is focus on your breathing. That's your prana, that's your life force. And you take a nice deep drink. Bring it up and hold it 1 second. Release it through your nostrils again. And you keep doing this process 2 or 3 times. And on the 4th breath, think about something that you're grateful for that day. It could be anything. You could be grateful because you woke up where many people around the world have not woken up. You could be grateful because you get to see the sun, where a lot of people in jail don't get to see the sun. You know, you be grateful. And as you breathe in again, you think of a second thing to be grateful about. And allow this breathing to go through your heart. It doesn't, we know it doesn't, but we can imagine that it does, and feel the cool air coming through your heart. Your heart will literally start to swell up because the emotion is being created to sustain that thought, that gracious thought. And then you have a third gracious thought. And once you're done, okay, just relax for 2 more minutes. Just 2 minutes, and listen to your body. Not your mind, your body. Your body's going to tell you something. That's your subconscious mind. And whatever it tells you, journaling, you want to write it down, because we're forgetful people. I forget stuff all the time. So I got 3 journals. This is my latest one. You want to journal everything that's relevant to you, important to you. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's only meaningful to you, not anybody else. And that's what matters. And when you write it down, it's the truth. We don't write it down because it's a lie. It becomes your law, your truth. And every time you look at it, you are reminded of your truth, your elevated truth. The truth is an elevated emotion. And this is one of the best ways to start the day, to end the day, with the heart activation breathing. It just sets the tone, and good things just keep coming out throughout the day.
Yeah, awesome. And it's actually something I do. I didn't know it was called heart activation breathing, but yes, I do deep breathing through the nose with meditation. And so maybe from your experience and in your opinion, how do you think these things work faster than more traditional mental health techniques, with faith and belief, obviously?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a total believer in that 100% now than I did when I first started a few years back, simply because, Western medical sciences, they focus on a cause. And then they diagnose, and then they look at it, and then they say, here's some medication, but they cannot focus on cures. There's very little cures that any medical sciences have done. Everything is, here's a patch, here's a medication for it. Where the human body is the best pharmacy in the world for healing. We are the placebo. So there's been many studies that have proven, for example, cancer studies, where a study of 30 patients, 15 were given a particular medication, others a placebo. Those with the placebo healed faster because they believed it. Those with the medication, they still had doubts, they're feeling sick and whatnot, and they still endured their disease. So it's all about mind and body control, and let me not say control. It should be a pleasure to align your mind and your body, to have brain and heart coherence. Because when we are coherent, we are more powerful as human beings internally. Our human body is designed to heal itself. It just takes practice to do that. And you start with little things. When you start to manifest and become a master manifester, it's because you have practiced how to make things happen in your life little by little. Not like Harry Potter, you're going to conjure up $1 million or a pot of gold or anything negative. Conjuring, that's all movies. That's all negative words. We are creators because we are built this way based on, energy. We are energy, 100%. We're just physical energy, a 3D model of energy. We are solid, but we are still energy at a very low vibration. When we take that vibration high, we are just wave. You can't even see us like a Wi-Fi signal or the air you breathe. It's all energy. So take advantage of that. Why not?
Yeah.
We just need to learn how to do it. And don't be afraid of yourself, because there's nobody standing in your way but you. We are our own worst enemies, because we learn to do that. Believe me, nobody in the pharmacy world, government world, medical world wants the human race to wake up to the fact that we are innately supernatural.
Mhm.
We don't need that anymore. We just got to learn how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, from my experience and research and thinking, a lot of what causes illness apart from negativity is consumption of man-made substances. For example, medicines, excessive consumption of medicines and things like that. And it's not necessarily the medicines themselves. Often it's the carriers that the medicines are with, because it's a small amount of medicine with a carrier and a tablet. And you said control, but I think the word is flow. We want that flow between the mind and the body. And again, consuming something like a medicine, putting something in your body when you don't need to, isn't really the best way to make it flow, so to speak. And again, you mentioned side effects. Cool. Yeah, there are so many side effects from even medications there to make you feel better. So, I mean, it's been an awesome show today. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about specifically? Or
everything EFT.
Everything EFT, yeah. I mean, it's such an amazing thing, and it's so simple. And I think the fact that it's unintrusive, and this is the thing, is that we can easily heal ourselves with faith and belief, and unintrusive methods. And so let's talk about that. You talked about how it's not very good to jump from, for example, sadness to happiness, because they're on opposite ends of the scale. So what are some of the emotions that people can go through on the way from sadness to happiness, so that they understand the kind of emotions to bring forward to help themselves?
Sure. So understanding that, emotions are energy, and energies, are measured in frequency. So the baseline for a healing event is gratitude, which starts at 440 megahertz. Now, just below gratitude is appreciation at about 350 megahertz. And these are subtle vibrations. So anything above it is a healing event. The low or the down-regulated emotions, let's say that the lowest one is depression, when we are feeling depressed, you cannot jump from depressed to happiness. The body will just literally freak out, and it does. So it's a subtle thing. You want to go from depression, let's say, to guilt, or depression to shame, or depression to unworthiness. Because once you get a person to move or focus their energies from depression to the higher next level down-regulated emotion, let's say shame, depression, they release that little bit of energy back up. So now our energies are starting to raise. And now we're focused on shame. And then from shame, you may want to say, okay, we go from shame to guilt, because these are all part of the underlying, emotions that we have emotionally stacked over the years, but we don't know this. Subconsciously, we will once our energy starts to flow. And once you get past, let's say, guilt, you can go to something like feeling like a victim. That's a different feeling. But if you notice, we went from depression to guilt to shame. Now we're higher. We're in the victim stage. Again, releasing all these energies subtly, but little by little, step by step, we keep rising. And we keep rising to blame, to sorrow, to failure, maybe, to anger, revenge, jealousy, gossip, if you have to, As long as you're raising, if you notice, we're not even thinking about depression anymore. We have taken a person who has been depressed, and I'm talking clinically depressed too, because EFT is not just a modality of any sort. It is this clinical EFT where this literally works at a clinical level. I mean, there's just so much good science to back it up. So these are subtle steps moving forward to raise your vibration so that the body starts to acclimate itself, to recondition itself to a new mind. And once you get to gratitude, it's like you just hit it out of the ballpark. When a person climbs to gratitude, you actually start to see beyond the clouds. You actually start to see the fog, get out of the way. You actually start to think greater than how you feel. And that's the objective. You want to be able to have lucid thoughts instead of those that are clouded by judgment. And that judgment is a down spiraling emotion. So you want to rise above that and keep sustaining that. It becomes a habit. It becomes good for you. and we naturally heal from it because of it.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I think it's really important. So many people don't want to feel those negative emotions, but often that's what's causing the blockage, is that you're not allowing yourself to feel those emotions. We all have emotions, you know. We've got to investigate them. We've got to understand where they're coming from, what's caused them, are they justified, you know, and what can we do about them. And I think shame and guilt, you know, when unresolved, they do lead to depression. I've been diagnosed with depression when I was younger, and then just said I wasn't going to be depressed, did CBT, and eventually I'm not depressed anymore. And a lot of it was because of shame and guilt. But I was carrying, even till last week, I did my own show on Food for Thought, and I told my own story of all the things I'd been through. And even as I was writing out my entire life, because it was incredibly difficult, there were so many events in my life that I've been through, all the way from 2 years old, happening year after year after year, all the way up to 38, right? I realized I was still ashamed of some of the things I'd done. However, when investigating it, it wasn't my own beliefs that were making me feel ashamed. It was inherited beliefs that I was still holding on to, fear of being judged, like you were saying, and really judging what's actually happening. And I'm judging myself with a belief that's been passed on to me. But I was able to very quickly clear it to go, do I believe that? And I was like, no. Have I got anything to be ashamed of? No. And then that enabled me to lift up. But, you know, I think sometimes without looking into these things, or looking at our life story and looking at all the events that happen, we can't see where we've got stored emotions to do with them. It's a very powerful thing. It's probably been one of the most powerful experiences of my last few years. And the last 3 years have been amazing, to be honest. So I think that's a really good place to leave it for today. That was really useful information. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I provide a 90-minute full immersion EFT tapping session for anybody, whether you're a believer or not, so that you can experience what it's like to shed or flow your first emotion. So if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling unsure, if you're feeling something that is not good and you want to shed that, I will teach you how to tap in 90 minutes to get that specific emotion to flow out of your body and back into your heart. And I do this every day. I give 5 free workshops a month. I also do 4-week workshops, 2-week workshops. And the difference between me and other practitioners is that, for example, my 4-week workshop is 2 tapping sessions a week, 90-minute sessions. But you get me for 30 days. So just because we stop working on the first day of the week doesn't mean that you don't get to hear from me for another week. You get me for a full 30 days, 24/7, as you're learning to, again, resolve or evolve whatever energies, disturbances you may have. So I'm always available to my clients.
That's awesome. So I just want to say a massive thank you to you, Gabe. It's been awesome to have you here. I've really enjoyed today.
Namaste, yes.
Namaste. And thank you to everybody who's been watching and got involved. It's been really awesome. You've all been amazing, and the questions and interaction have been really good. I hope you've got some value out of it. So I'd just like to say, you know, as we talked about today, your body can get addicted to negative or even positive emotions. And it's good to just let your emotions flow. Emotional freedom is the difference between thriving and not thriving. And so if you want to start your day in the best way you can, set a positive intention, try some meridian tapping, try HAB, so heart activation breathing, which is deep nose breathing with positive affirmations or just positive thoughts. Avoid social media and try writing something down instead. But remember, keep it positive, set some positive intentions, positive affirmations. So thanks to Gabe. Gabe is an emotional chaos life coach, and he is offering a free 90-minute session to anyone who wants to contact him. And so his group link is in the description of this video. But otherwise, you can find him on Facebook. He is a guest on the event page, which most of you will have seen, and his details should be below the video. So thank you again, Gabe. Thank you, everybody else. Have a great evening.
Thank you.